Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here on Monday morning just to give my thoughts on the fights from Saturday night. I know you guys have digested this whole fucking event by now, but still, I wanted to give my thoughts. I was at my friend's house and I couldn't make a video. I pitched it. I was like, hey, do you mind if I sit down at your kitchen table and talk into my phone for like a half hour about all those fights we just watched over the course of the last 6 hours? And I got denied. So here I am. Grasso, Araujo. Oh, let me just say, I am dying to talk about UFC 280, and those videos will be coming soon. I can't wait for that fucking event. Grasso, Araujo. This was a deceptively close fight. I did think Alexa Grasso won every round. And after the bell rang, I was like, I don't know. That could be like a split decision for all I know. You get, one shitty judge. But the right person won. Like I said, it was a weird, close fight, but if Grasso lost, it would have been a robbery, a bad decision. Still, Vivian performed very well, just about made every round a battle. And Grasso was just better, I thought. Her strengths were her strengths in this fight. She was the better boxer, better movement, better volume. She's overall better. I don't even know about the volume, but she was overall better. Definitely, I thought she outpointed Vivian every round. I thought Vivian had some strength. Her physicality definitely showed up in this one, and she put Alexa Grasso down in round 2. Grasso, she didn't get up right away, but when she did, she stole the round, I thought. So Alexa Grasso performed very well in that sense. That, again, in a close fight, for her to edge out every round, in my opinion, which is what I saw, I really respected that. The thing moving forward, though, is Alexa. I don't know. The thing moving forward is she's got to fight. She could be fighting Valentina. I actually think she might not now, because in the post-fight press conference, she said that she wanted to take one more 5-round fight before Valentina. So maybe the UFC will oblige, or maybe not. They have their own logistics where if they need a women's flyweight title fight on a certain card, it's going to be on that card, and there's only a few people that'll fight for it, that could fight for it. So regardless, I did think Alexa Grasso did well, leveled up here, fought a very good opponent, Vivian Araujo, who she's got a few losses now in the UFC, but nobody's really kicked her ass thoroughly. And Alexa Grasso, outpointed her and performed very well for 25 minutes. All right, shut the fuck up. The fucking thing. Anyway, not the best main event on paper, not the best main event in actuality, wasn't the best fight. But we did get a contender out of it, and of course the contender doesn't want to be a contender. So overall, maybe not the best main event to talk about. Vivian Araujo, again, she's performed well in a losing effort just about every time. Maybe not the Jessica I fight as well, but she's a very good flyweight who can give anybody trouble. She might even be able to give Shevchenko more trouble than Grasso, for all I know. But still, Grasso moves forward, and we'll see what happens. Jonathan Martinez taking out Cub Swanson. This was, a bit of a surprise to me. I know I bet on Cub, and I picked Cub, but I saw the odds. Cub almost 2-1 underdog. And Jonathan Martinez, I didn't think he would be able to perform that well with his strengths, which I've seen his strengths take out Cub, but that was at featherweight. Here, Jonathan Martinez, he did look bigger. On paper, I said they're the same size going into this one. I did think Jonathan Martinez looked bigger, which, I don't know how shit works with Cub coming down in weight. But Jonathan Martinez definitely looked faster, and he looked deadlier. And that was the story of the fight, his leg kicks, his kicks, I should say, body kicks, really. And then he finished him off with the legs, chopped him down at the end there. That was an awesome fight. Awesome fight, awesome performance for Jonathan Martinez. He, he's a guy who has never had a big breakthrough moment. And he hasn't had, I think he's at a I don't know if he's at a finish in the UFC. Not lately. And maybe not at all. Most of his wins are decisions. Most of his fights are decisions. And here he gets a big victory over the biggest name he's fought, a guy who's headlined UFC events. And, he's on his way down and blah, blah, blah. That's the story now, of course, because he's close to 40 and he just lost. But Cub Swanson definitely is a big feather in your cap, even at this point in your career. So Jonathan Martinez gets a big finish. His legs come through for him, and that guy can throw him. He's got insane kicks, just like Paul Felder pointed out with Chris Gutierrez, his teammate. Those guys do have insane kicks, and he passed the Cub Swanson test, and he passed it with flying colors. It was an awesome performance. Cub did have him down too, and he swept Cub, or got out, and Jonathan Martinez looked very good. Just talk about leveling up. Maybe not even so much technically or whatever, but professionally. He leveled up here, Jonathan Martinez. He's a name in the division now, in the bantamweight division. So, really cool main event. Kind of bummed to see it not go Cub's way. Not only because I bet on him, but still, Cub gunning for a title at this point in his career, coming off a big win over Elkins and a fucking career and a half at featherweight. And this is how he gets welcomed to the bantamweight division. But there are those guys out there that are just underrated. Jonathan Martinez is one of them. He was favored to win the fight, so I don't want to act like he, upset the world here, shocked the world. But Jonathan Martinez definitely made his name. He wasn't a name, and that's what makes it, a bit of an upset in the mind of general fans out there, casual fans. Well, now Jonathan Martinez has cachet, and he's moving forward. I hope Cub does well, settles into a good role at bantamweight if he's even long for the UFC or long for the bantamweight division. But, still, this is probably as bad as it's going to get for him, I think. He definitely goes down a notch here. Theoretically, he's going to be fighting someone easier in his next fight. But, rough debut at bantamweight against Jonathan Martinez. All right. Dusko Todorovic taking out Jordan Wright. That was an awesome fight. Awesome sloppy mess. Jordan Wright looked really good. I wasn't sure what he was thinking with his takedowns and top control. But he's a big, solid athlete, and he was out wrestling Dusko and outworking him. Got the full mount. He was out jiu-jitsuing him too. But he fell apart. He fell apart in round 2. I don't even think a shot landed before I realized, he's in trouble here. He's on his way out. It was like as soon as the bell rang, he was, practically on skates, and Dusko was roughing him up, and that was just it. It was the Dusko Todorovic show for another 3 minutes or so. The under didn't hit, which I was sure of. I bet on it at minus 140, under a round and a half, and I think for the first time in Jordan Wright's career, he goes over. So, awesome fight, back and forth drama. Would have been cool to see the upset, I suppose, with Jordan Wright having success, especially with him working him over on the ground. That was a pleasant surprise. But the flip side to that coin is, you burn energy where you're not as comfortable. And he just came out for round 2 flat. So I think it might have worked against him. And Dusko needed a big win. He was supposed to get a big win, and he got one. He got fight of the night as well. Both those guys got an extra 50 grand or whatever. So can't complain about the fight of the night. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm back here. So, Sunsao versus Henry. Sorry, I'm a little thrown off. My neighbor just came by and asked me for some shit. Okay. Rafael Sunsao taking out Victor Henry. This is the one I wanted to talk about the most. You talk about getting one wrong. I got this one wrong. So did everybody probably. But I was betting against Rafael Sunsao's everything about him. I thought he would get knocked out, and I don't even consider Victor Henry to be Mr. Knockout. In fact, I think he's on the other end of the spectrum. But even aside from that, I thought if it goes to a point battle, I thought Victor Henry would be too much for him. Bigger, stronger, faster, everything, and I was wrong about everything. Aside from him being taller, bigger. But Sunsao fought a classic Sunsao fight. Excellent counter striking, just really working Victor Henry, making him guess. Great movement, chopping him with leg kicks. It was exactly what we've seen from a Sunsao in the past, taking out great fighters, champions, former, future, whatever. But he looked really good. I thought he won all 3 rounds. I thought Victor Henry was just, he was perplexed for 15 minutes. Perplexed. I mean, of course, he knew what he was walking into. He knew how Asuncao fought. I'm sure he, at least his coaches, have seen every Asuncao victory over these great fighters. But he wasn't able to do anything different. He was just thrown off by Asuncao. Asuncao's counter striking, and Asuncao probably has heavier hands than any of us want to give him credit for, myself included. And Asuncao just had him guessing for 15 minutes. Started outworking him, out wrestling him, out clinch fighting him. But generally speaking, fighting the Asuncao fight, putting his back against cage, circling out, and counter striking. And Victor Henry, I thought it would be like that, but Victor Henry would be leading the dance, throwing with a lot of volume, and just making Asuncao pay. And Asuncao didn't pay at all. This was the exact opposite of the fight I expected. Asuncao looked really good physically. He took his share shots, but he was a step ahead of Henry the whole time, and he threw Henry off, where Henry, Mr. Volume against Raoni Barcelos, and that fight was just amazing. Here, he was denied. He was shut down, denied. It seemed like he was timid throughout the whole fight after Asuncao started, working his magic. So, classic victory for Rafael Asuncao at 40 years old. I thought this was amazing. Wasn't going to get him a bonus or anything, but if I handed out the bonus, this was like my headliner. This was the takeaway from the card, is I can't wait to talk about Rafael Asuncao and how good he looked against Victor Henry here. Now, Victor Henry, he's only had 2 fights in the UFC, but he's had an extensive career fighting good fighters here, and it's not like he's unbeatable. He's got now, I think, 6 losses, all decisions. He's been outpointed before, but the story here is that Rafael Asuncao is, he's still quick. He's still got every bit of offense he's got that he had in the past, which was, his speed and counter striking. And his chin, maybe his chin isn't as bad as I thought it was, although I still think it kind of is. I just think maybe I underestimated it to the point where I thought Victor Henry would be able to put him out with volume and half power. But no, I think it's just someone big and strong like Cody Garbrandt or Ricky Simone. Again, Ricky's not the best striker in the world, but he packs a mean punch. And those guys cracked him with overhand rights, and that's what put him out. So, and Eric Koch being twice as big as him. So, Asuncao, maybe I did think I did underestimate his chin. And Victor Henry, I think I did overestimate his skill set, his volume, and his pressure. I thought that he would absolutely be leading the dance. And, he was footwork-wise or whatever, but that's it. Rafael Asuncao was schooling him every step of the way. Just an awesome, awesome performance from Asuncao. I love when the veterans show up, and the veterans have that, could be the one last great performance or whatever. They keep outpointing these guys they shouldn't be outpointing. It's what makes Arlovsky such a cool, interesting fighter. But, great performance from Asuncao. It's not like he's going to be, I don't think he'll be fighting for the title. I do think if he fought enough good fighters, powerful fighters, his chin would fail him again. But he just took out the guy that took out Barcelos. So, great win for Rafael Asuncao. Alonzo Menafield versus Misha Serkinov. This seemed like an interesting fight for 2 minutes, and then Serkinov got hit. Menafield caught him with that big leaping left hook. Hit him, I think, in the top of the head. And we've seen Serkinov go out from that, and he was rocked. He was rocked, then got caught spinning around, and got caught with a big right hand, I think, and then some hammer fists, and he was out cold. So, there's no dispute in this one. I can't criticize Misha for this one. I could say, oh, he's got a weak chin. He does, and I don't think he should be fighting, because he's fighting guys that are just too big and strong to not crack that chin. And Menafield, look, I think he's got 2 first-round victories. The one over the fraud, I think, was the first-round victory. That's awesome for Menafield. Menafield, he does have that round 1 power. He's got that knockout power. He should put away a lot of good fighters, and it's good to be reminded of that. Again, I just shit on Misha's chin, so that could be and probably will be the story of this fight. But Alonzo Menifield clearly hits hard, and his hands were there for him, and they did what they needed to do. So Menifield moves forward. Serkinov, I don't know where he moves. Again, this is a guy I thought he'll be fighting for the title against Jones or DC in 3 months or something. I remember thinking something like that whenever he was close. And then just boom, spiraled out of control from there, and this could be the end. Next up, Manny Martinez taking out Brandon Davis. This was a very fun fight. Very fun fight. Could have been fight of the night or whatever before Dusko and Jordan. But Dusko Jordan was just much more exciting. It was a sloppy fight. Sloppiness is always fun. You know, I'll never be one of those fans. Oh, it was sloppy. It was beneath me. I like boring 1-2s. No, I want them to be gasping for air and fucking beating each other half to death. And that's what that fight gave. This fight, Brandon Davis versus Manny Martinez, was a little more, it was more of a technical battle, but there was violence, plenty of violence. I did think Manny Martinez stole the fight with big moments. Big moments. He hurt Brandon Davis on a few occasions, I think in rounds 1 and 2. And besides that, it was a close fight, but look, those big moments, not only they find the knockout, but they win you rounds too. A knockdown wins a round. And he had Brandon Davis staggering, and of course it was in the last few seconds, last 30 seconds, I want to say max, of rounds 1 and 2. And just a good performance of Manny Martinez. Manny Martinez is the more dangerous guy. The record speaks for itself. I think this is his first decision. I think. I could be wrong about that. I remember knowing this shit in the pre-fight video. But still, he went 15 minutes and he outpointed Brandon Davis. He put up points with some big moments. Brandon Davis is one of those tough guys who has a knack for making fights close. And this will just go down as another quintessential Brandon Davis loss. It was a split decision, I believe. And I don't think it really had any right being a split decision. But it was split. And that's just that Brandon Davis quality that he has, And he survives. He's tough. Generally, he survives. And it was good to see him take it. I speculated coming into the fight that his chin could be on the way out after that one knockout loss to Dana. And that was like a year ago, whatever. And he's entering his mid-30s. I think he's 32. So he's, whatever. The writing's not quite on the wall, like I said in the pre-fight. That's why I wasn't quite confident in Manna putting him away. But it worked out where Manna outpointed him with big moments. And Brandon Davis, it was cool to see him hurt and to survive once again. So, not a bad fight at all. Again, could have been it was a fight of the night contender. Just, it had nothing on the sloppy mess that Dusko and Jordan brought us. All right. Jacob Malkoun takes out Nick Maximov. This was it was pretty one-sided. Maximov hurt Malkoun, dropped him, I think, to a knee in the beginning of the fight. And I was worried about Malkoun, but he kept fighting. And he, gathered himself, recomposed himself. And then he just outworked Maximov. And the wrestling battle was the story of the fight coming into it. And I do think Malkoun won the fight with his wrestling, obviously. His wrestling, he's got good hands, too. Just really great pressure and pace. He's like an awesome wrestle boxer. Really, really good. I do have questions about his chin after the Phil Hawes fight and him being dropped by Maximov, but I don't have questions about his heart, and his recovery looked great in that one. Might have another knock on the door here. All right, these assholes. Anyway, yeah, he looked really good, Malkoun, and just outworked Maximov. Maximov, it was. I know he's he's training jiu-jitsu every day with the Diaz brothers, so he's or with the Cesar Gracie camp. He's definitely no stranger to the ground, but it was cool to see him survive after being out-wrestled, but you don't want to be out-wrestled as a wrestler. That used to spell the end back in earlier MMA, generally speaking. But he was able to survive on his back, being ridden, trying to get up and working, and just being outworked by Malkoun, who, I expected him to be the better guy in round 3. I thought it could have been a closer battle, but after he was hurt and dropped for a split second, it just became the Jacob Malkoun show. Another great workman-like performance. Those are the fights where, These are the type of fighters, they don't get everybody excited. The casual fans will never be excited. The hardcore fans probably won't ever be excited about Malkoun. But if you bet on him, then you learn to appreciate him. You know, he's got that grinding style, and you know, when his chin holds up, I think he's a problem for everybody. So, well, maybe not everybody, but you know, a lot of people. Great fight for Malkoun. Next up, Joe Anderson Brito, or Brito, according to Felder or whatever, Brito, taking out Lucas Alexander. This, I didn't preview the fight because I didn't even know the fight was booked until like the day before the fight. I don't know when it was booked. I have no fucking clue. But Lucas Alexander's been submitted in his 2 losses, and Joe Anderson Brito found that gap here. He found it early in round 1, just got back control. I don't even know if he took him down or just took his back standing, but he took his back, and that's all she wrote. You know, there was a little defense there, but still, Lucas Alexander, you can tell he's, you know, his record speaks for itself. He's not he doesn't have great submission defense. And Joe Anderson Brito, even though he's more of a violent striker, he's absolutely got the jiu-jitsu to fill that hole. So he did round 1. Still got to appreciate Alexander for stepping up, and I'm sure he'll be rewarded with another go in the UFC. But not a good look for him for his record, just to take another 3rd loss, 1st round submission. Another submission loss. Pierre Rodriguez beat Sam Hughes. This was the Pierre Rodriguez show. I did think I thought the fight would have went the opposite of how it went, which, again, it wasn't a one-sided ass-kicking. I thought it would have been a close fight, but Sam Hughes would have been better, winning the wrestling battle and pulling ahead in the end. And it said Pierre Rodriguez, the one who looked like that. She looked really good. Pierre, I described her as like John Lineker, you know, with her plodding style and her, you know, heavy strikes. And she wasn't as slow as I thought she would look against Sam Hughes. I thought Sam Hughes would have a little more, a few more advantages on the feet. No, she didn't. Pierre Rodriguez, of course, she has the punching power, but still, just strike for strike, volume-wise, and again, I don't even know the numbers, so I could be proven wrong easily there, but Pierre was, it wasn't like she had to be outstruck and she had to fight her way in. Pierre Rodriguez is a good counter-striker, you know, she doesn't rush you, she doesn't have to lead the dance, she can wait for you to get into her range, and then she makes you pay with her power, because she is probably going to be the more powerful puncher against most girls she fights. So great win for Pierre Rodriguez. Tough loss for Sam Hughes, who's now 2-4. And but still, a lot of upside with Pierre. Pierre, I think, is 9-0 now, 10-0. She's undefeated, and she's 2-0 in the UFC. Again, Kay Hansen's already out of the UFC, but Sam Hughes, I don't think, is going anywhere. And again, a lot of upside with Pierre Rodriguez. And that's the type of grinding fight you have to win quietly, where if she achieves greatness, that fight will be forgotten. But you guys saw it Saturday night. It was not an easy battle. Those fighters are out there, like Sam Hughes, that they'll give you hell. And Pierre Rodriguez passed the test. Tatsuro Taira takes out CJ Vergara. This was the Tatsuro Taira show. It was all, you know, all of his success really was grappling. He's got great back control. I'm not sure about how his rear naked choke game is compared to, you know, modern defense, so to speak. But he found the submission with the armbar. And it was awesome the way he did it. I think there was under 30 seconds left in round 2, or it was close. But it's one of those moves where, you know, I'm like that. I always just, when you're winning the round with back control, you know, you don't want the person to reverse you and whatever, take back the round or mitigate the 10-8 or whatever. But if you have to go for it. You have to make the most of that position, you know, unless, of course, you're confident that you can get back there in the next round. But generally speaking, you have to make the most of that position. And if you have submission skills, it's not worth it to just sit there and take even the 10-8 round or whatever. You have to try to use your dominant position to find a submission. And Tatsuro Taira went for it with 30 seconds, a minute left in round 1. Said, all right, I'm going to start working for the armbar. And it was so tight because CJ Vergara, I thought he was about to pull out of it. Like his body was out of it, but just the grip on the arm was so tight. His body wasn't moving, Tyra. And at the last second, when I thought he could have pulled out of it, he could pull out of it unless this is it, and that was it. And he tapped. Again, I think under 30 seconds left in round two, and Tatsuro Taira gets a big victory. Maybe not the biggest, but still, he's 2-0 in the UFC, and he gets a nice big moment, a beautiful armbar victory. So, great win for the prospect. Tough loss for CJ Vergara. He's had a rough go of it in the UFC so far, and this wasn't the most inspiring performance, especially after watching Candelario hang with Taira. But still, I think he'll be kept around. He's generally a warrior, and when he's not positionally dominated, even when he is, generally, he finds a way back into the fight. This just wasn't the case. Taira is so good, and his grappling is so strong that there was just nowhere for CJ to go. All right, and then the last fight of the night, or the first fight of the night, the last fight of the video, the main event of the fucking video. Pete Rodriguez taking out Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson, this was it for him. He wasn't really, he wasn't really a UFC fighter or an MMA fighter. He wasn't a serious fighter, but he got thrown into the UFC because of the CM Punk situation and Mickey Gall and whatever. He, fought Mickey Gall and then CM Punk. And he just, he had one more fight on his contract that he had to get out, I guess, after the Dean Barry fight, because there's no other reason to book him in the UFC. But he was booked at an appropriate matchup, a guy with, that the UFC clearly has faith in, because he was booked to fight Jack Della Maddalena. But the proof wasn't there. And the proof still isn't there after beating Mike Jackson, but still, Pete Rodriguez is a serious fighter, and at 4-1, now 5-1, that's, he's still an inexperienced guy, and it was about as good as Mike Jackson was going to get inside the UFC, aside from these Dean Barry types or whatever. Maybe do the Punk rematch, or fight the Red Rooster or whatever. But, embarrassing loss for Mike Jackson. Not embarrassing, but, he was knocked out, knocked dead, which is never a good look for a guy approaching 40. And Pete Rodriguez, his hands were there for him, and his knees, and his aggression, certainly. Fighting a guy who was bigger and longer, and Pete Rodriguez just hunted him down. So, what more could you ask for? You could say whatever you want about the opponent, Mike Jackson, but Pete Rodriguez did his job. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the fights, and I will be talking to you guys soon about UFC 280. Can't fucking wait. I can't fucking wait. Please like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful horse shit, and I will see you guys soon.